Sal Capaccio is with us from Chicago now on the heels of today's joint practice between the Bills and the Bears. Sal, how was it?
It was hot. I am in Chicago right now, but actually the practice itself was just outside Chicago in Lake Forest, Illinois, at Hallis Hall. That is the Bears practice facility. Very hot. Reminded me of some St. John Fisher days, to be honest, and we know how hot that was out there. It was great. I loved it. I could watch this kind of stuff all day. I really could. I just think it was really good football today. I thought both teams did an excellent job of kind of, winning some and losing some, right? You're going to get that through. I think they went for close to 2.5 hours, guys. I mean, it was hot and they worked. So I could really watch a lot of that. But, it's always interesting for me also to see the setup of different places and how other teams not only practice, but what their media, where they go, and these kinds of things. Like, for example, when we go to practice for the Bills, like, we can stand and walk around the field pretty much and, kind of get any angle. You can't do that here at their facility. There's bleachers in the end zone, and the media has to stay in the bleachers. So if something's happening on the far side, you can't really see it. You have to do your best. So that was a bit of a challenge, but for the most part, we saw everything. But otherwise, I just thought it was a great day, and it was really good work for both teams.
Was it hard to keep the simultaneously, right? The way I interpreted what I was seeing on social media was that Bills' number one offense against Bears' number one defense on one field, and then the opposite on another field simultaneously, right?
Yes. So yes, it was in a way. Now, we were closer. We were in the bleachers pretty much on the field where the Bears offense was going against the Bills defense. And then just to our left, maybe about 20 yards, there's a field. They're coming right at us. And both fields are facing the same way, not like at Bills practice where when you go out to the field house and outside, there's one field going one way and the other like perpendicular. These are going both ways. So once we were there in the bleachers, we're standing there, and actually we've kind of formulated a little plan, which was I had Josh Reed on my left, I had Andy Young of Spectrum News on my right, and Josh and Andy said, all right, I'm watching over here, and then we just figured out. I said, all right, you guys watch the offense, I'll watch the defense. Let's compare notes and tell everybody what we saw, and we kind of were helping each other out like that. But yeah, your eyes try to go to everything you can. Like if you can see a play on one field, then your eyes go immediately to another field. But then you got to write down what you see or tweet what you see, and that becomes a bit challenging because everything's moving so fast. So from that standpoint, though, very efficient because you were able to get both teams were able to do that.
Right.
At the end of it, guys, when there was about maybe one period left, 10, 15 minutes, they did just one field and they rotated offense against defense.
You mentioned the Bills' number one offense, and I have a simple follow-up question to that. Like, who is on it? who are running routes on the Bills' number one offense these days?
Well, everybody really, Mike, and I don't say that as a cop-out, as a, what I can and can't say as a reporter. You get the guys that you would think, and they're just always shuttling in. They really do rotate their wide receivers quite a bit. We know Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer's out there, Elijah Moore is out there, Tyrell Shavers gets a little bit of run. We see KJ Hamler once in a while. So I would say those are the names you generally see out there. Curtis Samuel did not practice today. In that portion, he did do a little bit more today. He was involved in individual work. You'd get Khalil Shakir normally out there. Obviously, he wasn't out there today. So I think it's the guys that you would normally, think about who would be on the first team running routes, and that includes obviously Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox.
How about for Samuel? 1 year ago is when he was hurt at one of these in Pittsburgh, and for much of the season, it was a story of whether he was fully healthy and just, whether he's healthy or not, the time missed works against the player. And, is that happening again?
Absolutely. And even before practice today, like Sean McDermott kind of made mention of, like, needing to get him back, needing to get him on the field. He's missing valuable reps. He's missing valuable time in whatever way that he said it. In fact, I'll look for the quote. Here's Andy.
Urgency.
Andy Young tweeted this out.
Isn't there urgency?
The urgency needs to be there for all these guys, and Curtis is no different. So, yeah, he was asked specifically about him. He lumped him in with all these guys, but yeah, that's right, Bulldog. Urgency is the word.
Yeah. I know we've covered this. What haven't we covered, right? But hearing McDermott talk like that about Samuel specifically, and anyone else that's missing time too. We heard him early in the week talk about Cole Bishop in this way, right? We got to get these guys out on the field together and get synergy between the safety tandem, et cetera, right? The receiver group, I feel like one of Moore or Samuel is not going to make it, and therefore one of Virgil, Chenault, and Hamler, I think might be the group, is going to make it, because I think special teams has to play into that, and none of the guys from more up on the depth chart, including Samuel, are special teams contributors. Right, Mac Hollins was a regular wide receiver last year and played special teams for them too. That doesn't exist with Palmer or Coleman or Shakir, unless Shakir ends up, maybe returning punts once in a while. But still, he's not a gunner, right? He's not covering kicks. So I feel like that door is open for one of those three guys I mentioned to supplant one of the other two.
Yeah, let me just just say, though, in case you didn't know, Jalen Virgil was released.
Oh, I meant Shavers. I'm sorry.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Because I was going to say, you also didn't mention Shavers.
I meant Shavers. Thank you.
So Shavers is the guy. And actually, so today, and I don't disagree with you. So let's just start where you started, whereas Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel, maybe one of those guys don't make it. Well, right now, Curtis Samuel's not available.
Right.
And we all know Sean McDermott is very big on availability. Best ability is availability. We say it all the time. We know that. And considering what he said today, I'll add on to this. Elijah Moore was really good today. Like, today's the first day that I think Elijah Moore popped with Josh Allen. And I noted that. I wrote an arrow up, arrow down column today for the joint practice so people could see it. And he's on there. And, I noticed early on, Elijah Moore, he caught a short pass, and then he used that speed and that wiggle. Bam, he's off to the races. And he had maybe what would have been a touchdown. Had another catch as well for a nice gain. So, you put those two things together, if it comes down to it, yeah, I think Moore would be ahead of Samuel for those reasons, and Samuel's availability is one of them. Then you go to the other guys, and I think Tyrell Shavers obviously can play in the league. We've seen him make a big play. He was big last week again. One of the coolest things I saw today was they were doing a punt return drill, and so you had everybody on the team basically lined up on the sidelines, and they would run out there and run different units for the punt return and punt team and punt return team. And it was they really concentrated on the gunners. The gunners had their own kind of drill going on where, okay, we're going to watch these guys and make sure can you get past two guys and you're going to get double teamed. And guys, I have never seen NFL football players get so jacked up for watching gunner drills. It was unbelievable. When their guy won, it was, oh my God, it was a party in your face, hooting and hollering. It was crazy. And I say this because there was a play where Tyrell Shavers is the gunner. The Bills are punting the ball. He has two guys on him. He just physically beats the first guy, gets into him, he gets around him. And then the second guy comes to make a block, and he puts a move on him, almost like a swim move. He comes under him, and he's off to the races to go get the punt returner. And everybody's going crazy on the Bills sideline. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as soon as that was over, Tyrell Shavers looks at the crowd and he flexes. Yeah, he can play special teams, and that could be a difference, right? If he can do something like that and show that he can run down and he can make plays, he can be your Mac Hollins replacement in that regard, then I think he has a shot here. But I still think it's an uphill battle if Curtis Samuel gets healthy. It really comes down to, can Curtis Samuel get healthy enough in time, and how would they feel about eating $7 million about moving off from him?
Sal, how physical was today?
Very physical. I asked a Bears reporter today to compare the Dolphins joint practice with the Bears last week to the Bills joint practice with the Bears this week. And he said to me, he said night and day, he said the Bears have been very intentional about their physicality. They have wanted to be physical all camp long. They're super physical. It's just the energy and the physicality that Ben Johnson wants. And they took it to the Dolphins last week. You guys saw some of those things that were written, right, last week. Mm-hmm. They took it to the Dolphins. He said that was not the case today. He said the Bills really matched their intensity. They matched their physicality. Now, going into this, Sean McDermott knew that. He made mention of this. He said they got physical last week. We know that. They're going to get physical with us. We better be there to match that physicality. By the way, as a side note, it's so funny. I tweeted out what the Bears reporter said to me, and I have so many Dolphins fans mad at me and telling me how, because they're so sensitive about it. And yet, because they beat them on the game, right? And they went out in there, they beat them and rolled up all these yards. I'm like, listen, I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is this Bears reporter's like, dude, they took it to the Dolphins, and the Bills are sitting here matching it. And that was intentional on the Bills' part, like I said. I thought today was, like I said, really good football all around. And I know you're not really taking guys to the ground, but when you're going that fast, you're going that hard, guys get taken to the ground. There were plenty of tackles today. It wasn't like guys were trying to necessarily take them to the ground, but it's very hard to stop yourself when you're just trying to be physical and not do that.
I'd like to say, at the risk of sounding like I'm bragging, that I'm proud to be able to point out that anytime I hear something about what a certain team's fans are saying, that this is when I find out about it. Like Sal saying that is when I find out about it.
Right.
You know, we talked to the guy Jeremy Kahn in Baltimore, and there's a reference to Bills and Ravens. Like that's when I find out about this. Like I've crafted my life in this particular area, maybe only so carefully and so well that I never know. But can Dolphins fans maybe chill? Don't you sort of know in life that
when it's
not your turn to talk?
Right, you don't have it right now.
You know?
Shut it down.
Isn't it maybe not their turn to talk? Come on.
Hey, I'm with you, Mike. I'm with you. I mean, I've responded to a couple of them. I'm like, you know the old thing where like, oh, well, Dolphins are in the Bills' head. And, I kind of got a little snarky and I said, well, if the Bills were a little bit more in the Dolphins' head, maybe they would figure out how to stop Josh Allen. That hasn't happened yet, right? Like, you're supposed to think about the other team and what's going on. That's the reason I asked, though, because the Bills, the Dolphins, they play each other twice, and there was a lot made of, last week. And, hey, good for the Dolphins. They went out and they atoned for it in their preseason game. But you asked about the physicality, and I'm telling you, like, the Bears have been very intentional about how physical they are. They certainly were against the Dolphins, and what I was told by people on hand today was that the Bills were very good in that regard.
How notable, if at all, do you think it is that both head coaches were – it makes sense for Ben Johnson. He's an offensive-minded coach. He's trying to, the tutelage of this new young quarterback he's paired with here in Caleb Williams. So that makes sense for him to be the guy watching that side of the ball with the whistle, the blow plays dead. I read that McDermott was doing the same when the Bills' offense was on the field. So, like, that feels like an effort to make sure nothing happens. He wanted the responsibility of ultimately protecting Josh Allen as best he could, right? Like, this play is over. I'm the head coach. Blow the whistle.
I did not notice that, so thank you for telling me. I didn't notice that, but I will tell you that it doesn't surprise me. I think head coaches just want to make sure that they're the ones. Like, if something's going to happen, I'm going to make sure that I'm the guy that is on watch here, watching, making sure it doesn't happen. I don't want to leave that in someone else's hand in an environment like this where they blow a late whistle and my quarterback gets tagged, right? Speaking of that, by the way, there was a play today. It was interesting, and this was noted by a lot of the Bears media more than the Bills, but it did happen. There was a play today where, like, Greg Rousseau comes around the back end and Joey Bosa's on the front end, and they got Williams. Like, Rousseau would have been credited with a sack. It was a 3rd down and a 2-minute drill. Rousseau would have had the sack. The Bills' pass rush was very good today, by the way. I wrote about it. We could talk about it. But in this particular play, Rousseau would have had him. And just after Williams kind of lets up, like, Joey Bosa sticks his arm out, and he kind of tags him in the chest plate. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't hit him super hard, but it's hard enough where we noticed it. And no one did anything.
I read that,
every
too.
One of the Bears media is like, what is going on? Like, how could you let that happen? So Josh Reed and I are both standing there. We're talking to the Bears media, and we both are like, dude, if that was Josh Allen, you'd probably have to kick Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown off of this field right now because of what they would have done. And then I said, and Alec Anderson, no matter where he is right now, would have come out and done something about that. Like, it was kind of weird and bizarre. And it was totally noted by the Bears media.
Interesting to think that when I saw the other day they invited Marcus Samuelson in to speak to the team before a recent offensive meeting, that would happen.
Matthias Samuelson.
Matthias Samuelson.
You wanted there. Sorry.
Oh, I thought I had some.
Yeah.
Is that who I wanted?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
You're referencing
thought I had something.
the Tage Thompson thing.
Yeah, I was. That's what I was going for, but I blew it.
Yeah.
What are the? Well, you just sort of gave us a look into this, Sal. What are the Bears' vibes? I mean, it's not all negative. We talked to Chris Emma from Chicago the other day, and I told him how I had friends who follow the Bears, and they're very caustic, and sort of like, you need to show them that it's good before they can actually believe it'll be good. What are your, you were there last night too. What is your sense of how people are, feeling about them?
I think it's all about the coach for everybody here right now. They feel that they got the best coach on the market, and he's going to be a really good coach. And that remains to be seen. I'm not sure. And I know we've all been through and seen a lot of coordinators, offensive or defensive, that is the next hot thing that really isn't head coach material. Is that Ben Johnson? I'm not really sure. Maybe he's going to be the greatest coach ever. He might, bomb out, but that's really it for them. It's all about the coach here, because I think they believe Caleb Williams can be really good. He's got to be coached up. He's got to have somebody different than Matt Eberflus around him. He's got to have somebody who's holding him accountable, and that's been the biggest thing that I've heard. The biggest thing I've heard here in Chicago this week is how Ben Johnson is very, very, very about accountability. Like he doesn't like the way the play is called in the huddle, he'll stop it. If he doesn't like the way someone lined up, he'll stop it. He gets on guys. He gets on Caleb Williams. He gets on Roma Dunze. Nobody's above the team, and I think that's good. That's a good culture to set. That's fine, and we'll see if it translates. But here in Chicago, I think they believe that's where it starts, is with Ben Johnson having the right coach.
Who did you like, if anybody, from their offense today?
I liked Roma Dunze. He made a heck of a catch in some traffic early on, so I liked him. And then who is? I gotta look up the name, because they said there's a receiver. Mike, you might know this just from off the top of your head. There's a receiver who's been gaining some buzz here, and he looked really good today. And I'm trying to think about who exactly
he had maybe a big long play today.
Yeah. Burden made a nice catch though, Mike. I know you like Luther Burden.
Yes.
Burden made a nice catch. He did that. I'm gonna
Marcus
try and find the
Burden.
guy's name, but.
Marcus.
I'm sorry, I'm still struggling.
Oh,
Marcus Samuelson is a chef.
Stop digging.
I'll leave it alone now.
About all the Marcuses here.
Just trying to buy Sal some time.
No, thank you. I'm looking right now, and I think it was. I have it right here. Zacchaeus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Olamide Zacchaeus.
I knew there was an O something. Okay.
Had a touchdown catch against the Bills in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he made a couple plays today, and that was a name that I'd heard that people are catching on to here.
And he's the guy. If I actually, it's too many teams now, Bulldog. But if I actually did follow through with the idea I had once, not the first person to have it, to buy a jersey from my fantasy league winner last year in the League of Shopes and Dreams against Joe, it was Zacchaeus going for 8 for 90 and a touchdown for Washington, and McLaurin going 1 for 5. And he had McLaurin, so I'd have to buy a Zacchaeus jersey.
I see, yeah.
But that did not happen.
Anyone else from the Bills? I saw some reference to Keon Coleman having a really good day out there, Sal.
He did. Yeah, Keon had a really good day. He had started off. They were doing 7-on-7. He gets to the front pylon, just inside the end zone, just inside the pylon. Josh hits him with a beautiful pass, just as he can get his toes in. That was great. He did actually not get his toes in later on a 2-minute ball, and it was a really nice throw right on the sideline. He catches it over the shoulder, deep ball, and the ref said he was out, but it was a nice catch, nice play, nice throw. But I think the highlight of the day for the offense came from Keon Coleman. He cooked a guy. I don't know who it was. He cooked him off the line of scrimmage. It was one of these deals where it was kind of right to our left, so we were all watching that play after a play on the other field, and you could see right off the line of scrimmage, Keon Coleman left his guy, and he just gave him a little move, left him, and Josh saw him. Keon raised his hand I'm open. It didn't matter. Josh already saw him. He was throwing him the ball anyway. Josh laid it out there. And Keon, because then he saw the ball was coming, he had to go catch up to it. And he did, and he caught it. But it was a fantastic route. I asked him about it afterwards. And I said, is that, I know that's something you've been working on, routes off the line of scrimmage. How validating is it to have something like that happen? And he kind of brushed it off as, hey, I've been working on routes all off season. This is what we've been doing at camp. It's just another route to me. That's what we're here to do.
Sal, Sean McDermott said early in the day that he didn't know yet whether Allen and starters would play against the Bears. If you believe that, why do you think he's hesitating? And if you don't, well, what do you think they'll do? Either way, I guess I want to ask that question.
I think he wanted to get through today for a couple reasons. Number one, to see how the team performed. And number two, health-wise, right? I think that if he makes a commitment now, he probably feels, the way that Sean can be with these things where you don't want to put yourself in a corner. And that's why he doesn't put timelines on injuries. And if he makes a commitment now before practice and then something at practice changes that and he wants to change, sure, he could change. Nobody would really care, but I don't think he wants to do that. And he probably really doesn't know. He wants to evaluate. He wants to evaluate his team. Did they get enough work in? Did they do the things we needed to? Did we see what we needed to see from the first team offense, the first team defense? A couple things today, guys. Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop were on the field together, the whole practice. The 7-on-7, 11-on-11, great to see. So maybe now you don't need them to play on Sunday. Maybe you still do because you need those reps. But maybe today takes the place of that so you don't have as much risk because you saw them get all those reps today. That's why I think that he doesn't want to do things like that.
Yeah. And I almost feel like there's two separate buckets here. There's the starters, the ones on both sides of the ball, and we'll see how that all gets shaken out, like you just said, Bishop and Rapp. Going into today, if they're healthy, I would have thought they'll probably play, but maybe because they got work today, maybe they won't. I feel like Josh Allen saying himself earlier in camp that he doesn't feel like he needs preseason reps. He says he'll do it if the coach thinks he needs it, then he'll do it. He's not going to object. But I feel like him saying that, I want to say I'd be surprised if McDermott in turn then went to him and said, I think you need to play against the Bears.
Yeah, I could see that, Bulldog. I could see that for sure. The game is on national TV on Fox on Sunday night. I'm sure they want Josh Allen to play, right? So that matters to the Bills. But, yeah, I could probably see something like that happening.
Couple things before we wrap up, Sal. One, what time is your Cub game tomorrow? Because my Red Sox Marlins game is at 4, and I just feel like we need to get dueling photos outside these iconic ballparks to share with everyone.
Where am I going to go at 4 o'clock tomorrow?
The Cubs tomorrow are at 1:20 Central, so 2:20 Eastern.
Okay.
The Cubs are great at the 20s. They always play these home games at 20 after. I like that about the Cubs. It's the only thing I think I like about the Cubs.
So there's that, and I know you told the story this morning with Jeremy, but I want to give you a chance to share it with our audience. Art Wander passing away, I was finding out about that yesterday, and I loved the story that you told about your interactions with him.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, condolences to Art, his family, his friends, and so many people across Western New York and everywhere who listened to Art Wander growing up. Pre-internet, on the radio. He was such a voice for all of us in so many ways. And for me, I always would say that I considered myself an old soul when I was a kid because I liked to listen to talk radio as a teenager, right? Who really did that? But I loved sports radio. And I would listen to talk radio. And, I remember being out with my parents and driving around and being with my dad in the car. And my dad would let me listen to talk radio. And if we went somewhere, I'd say, I want to listen to this and stay in the car. And he'd go in and I'd listen to it. And that was really cool. Well, I started calling Art's show. And Art had this thing where his callers had nicknames, and it was a big part of his show. And I always remember the first caller in every day was a guy named Mr. T. Like, he was always the first in. He'd give his Bills and Sabres takes. And there was a guy named the Polish Prince. There was a guy named Ace. There was a guy named Bandit. And it was all different kinds of guys. So it's really cool. So I'm like, all right, I'm 16 years old, 17 years old, and I got to call in. I'm not just Sal anymore from Cheektowaga. I got to have a nickname. Well, I went to Cleveland Hill High School, and I love my alma mater, as you guys know, and love my school, so I became the Golden Eagle. That was my name when I would call in. Hey, let's go to the Golden Eagle. So that became my nickname, and that was pretty cool. And one time I called him, and I said, hey, would you mind if I called you off the air about something? And he said, sure, do that. So I called, and this is obviously pre-cell phone. I'm and I called a landline, and he picked up right away after the show. And he picks up, and he just says, Golden Eagle, how are you? And I'm like, oh, hey, Art, how are you? And I'm this teenager, and there's this guy that really means so much to me in talk radio and what I'm listening to. And I said, I really want to do what you do for a living. I want to be in radio. I want to go to Syracuse University. Could you write me a letter of recommendation? He said, oh my gosh, absolutely, I'll do that. And he said, come on down to the studio sometime. And we worked out a time. I drove down. I had my dad drive me down, I believe, to Franklin Street, the old studios on Franklin. And that's where I met Art for the first time. And he wrote me a letter of recommendation to Syracuse. And I can truly say, he is maybe the main reason that I'm in this business because I loved listening to him so much.
Was it good, the letter? Was it everything you wanted it to be?
I don't remember. I just knew I got a letter from Art, and it was pretty cool that he wrote it.
It was enough.
So.
It was enough.
I'm sure I have it somewhere, though.
Right. It didn't hurt.
Right.
It didn't hurt. Very good.
No.
All right, Sal, enjoy the weekend there, and we'll talk next week.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.